Most boats lose half their value the moment they leave the dock. 5 trawler brands from the 1970s through the 1990s never did. One still holds over 70% of its price decades later. Solid fiberglass, thicker than a stack of credit cards. Bronze hardware built to outlast the hull itself. These Liveaboard trawlers were built to last forever, and the construction decisions behind that durability are ones most modern builders simply refuse to make. Touch the hull of a classic trawler and you'll notice the difference immediately. Solid fiberglass, 6 to 10 millimeters thick, about the width of a stack of credit cards. Surveyors sometimes compare it to a church bell for a reason. That kind of thickness shrugs off the dings and scrapes that would leave cracks in lighter hulls. Survey reports on boats like the Grand Banks and Kadey-Krogen still use words like intact and satisfactory after 40 years at sea. Move up to the deck hardware and you'll find fittings made from solid bronze, not plastic or thin stainless. Bronze through hulls and seacocks, after decades in salt water, pick up a green patina but keep working. Original bronze parts from the 70s are still in service, while plastic replacements often fail after a decade. The choice of bronze wasn't just tradition, it was a decision to outlast the hull itself. Inside, the joinery is unmistakable. Open a cabinet and you'll see the deep, warm grain of solid teak. Not a veneer, but real wood, thick enough to sand and refinish again and again. Surveyors note only surface weathering on original teak, never peeling or bubbling. Interiors built this way can be restored, not replaced. Thick fiberglass, ship-grade bronze and genuine teak aren't just nostalgic details. They're the reason a well-kept 40-year-old trawler can outlast new boats. Here, built to last isn't a slogan, it's a fact you can feel. From the late 1970s through the early 1990s, the economics of boat building worked in favor of overbuilding. Shipyards in Taiwan, South Korea, and the Philippines paid skilled workers a fraction of US wages, sometimes just 30%. That wage gap meant builders could afford to spend more on materials and labor without driving up the sticker price. Polyester resin, the glue of fiberglass boats, cost about $1.50 per pound in 1978 and actually dropped to around $1.10 per pound by the mid-1980s. Fiberglass mat followed suit, falling below $1 per pound. For a builder making a trawler hull with an extra 200 pounds of laminate, the added cost was only a few $100s, money well spent when buyers wanted a boat that felt indestructible. The export market rewarded this approach. The US dollar slide against Asian currencies in the 1980s made imported resin and hardware even cheaper for overseas yards. It was a rare moment when more material and more hand labor did not mean a higher price tag. Buyers, for their part, wanted heavy displacement. A 1979 survey found that nearly 70% of American trawler buyers would gladly accept a few percent lower fuel economy if it meant a hull that could cross oceans and shrug off abuse. This is why you find solid fiberglass hulls up to 2 inches thick below the waterline, bronze hardware everywhere, and real teak interiors. The math worked. A boat built like a tank could be sold for the same price as a lighter, flimsier competitor. But as labor costs climbed in the 1990s and resin prices crept back up, the industry shifted. Cord laminates, plastic fittings, and thin veneers became the norm. That is the dividing line between the classics and what followed. For anyone shopping today, it is not just nostalgia, it is a practical calculation. A well-kept trawler from this era often costs less to buy and holds its value better than many new boats, all because of the economics that once made overbuilding the smart bet. Grand Banks set the standard for what a liveaboard trawler could be. Founded in 1956, the company took lessons from commercial fishing vessels and applied them to pleasure boats, starting with the 42 Classic. These hulls are pure, hand-laid fiberglass, no balsa, no foam, just solid glass below the waterline, often close to an inch thick. Surveyors still call original hulls from the late 1970s and 1980s structurally sound, even after decades of ocean crossings. Owners say a Grand Banks feels like a house on the water, and the market agrees. A well-kept 42 Classic from this era typically sells between $45,000 and $78,000, with little value lost over the years. One long-time owner put it bluntly, "If you keep up with the basics, this boat will outlast you." Kadey-Krogen took a different route. It launched in 1976 with a pure full-displacement hull designed by naval architect Jim Krogen. The Krogen 42 has a rounded underbody, a fine entry, and a protected propeller, and it was built for blue water, not just coastal cruising. Construction starts with solid fiberglass below the waterline, then transitions to closed-cell foam core above. No plywood to rot, no shortcuts. Aramid fiber, known as Kevlar, adds impact resistance in the bow and stern. Mariners who have run these boats across oceans praise their soft motion and unshakable feel. Over 600 Kadey-Krogen boats have been built, and used prices for models from the 1980s and the 1990s range from $40,000 to $90,000. Surveys often find hulls and decks still dry, with hardware and joinery holding up better than many newer boats. For those who want a trawler engineered to cross oceans, the Krogen's reputation is earned, not inherited. A Nordhavn owner once described his boat as the closest thing to a commercial supply vessel you can buy without a captain's license. That reputation is not just talk. In 2019, a Nordhavn 55 ran aground on a reef in the Bahamas. The impact could have crippled most pleasure boats, but Nordhavn's protected propeller aperture, set deep in the hull above the keel, meant the prop and shaft were untouched. The hull took some gouges, but the propulsion system stayed intact. After patching the fiberglass and repainting, the boat was back underway. The reason is simple. Nordhavn borrows engineering from ocean-crossing workboats. Watertight bulkheads divide the hull into separate compartments, so a breach in one area will not flood the entire boat. Redundant systems, dual steering and backup pumps are standard, not upgrades. This kind of overbuilt safety pays off in more ways than just peace of mind. Used Nordhavn 40s from the late 1990s and the early 2000s routinely list between $150,000 and $250,000. Broker data shows a 5-year depreciation of just 5 to 10%, among the slowest in the trawler world. Owners say it is the engineering that holds the value. When a boat can survive a grounding with only cosmetic repairs, buyers notice. In a market where most new boats lose value fast, Nordhavn's focus on collision resilience and long-haul reliability is its own insurance policy. Scarcity and substance, these are the two roads to lasting value among classic liveaboard trawlers, and nowhere is that split clearer than with Fleming and DeFever. Fleming yachts are rare by design. Only about 45 Fleming 55s were ever built, and each one was finished to order, blending solid fiberglass hulls with hand-fitted teak interiors and robust stainless hardware. The semi-displacement hull isn't just for looks. It means a Fleming can cruise comfortably at 12 to 14 knots, yet settle into a slow, fuel-efficient run when needed. That blend of performance and craftsmanship puts used Fleming 55s in a league of their own. Current listings run from $300,000 to $600,000, and broker records show these boats often retain 70 to 75% of their original price after 7 years. Owners rarely let them go, and when they do, buyers move fast. DeFever takes a different approach. These boats were built with the kind of heft you would expect from a small tug, with solid fiberglass hulls, thick stringers, and simple, owner-friendly systems. There is no pretense here. One owner described the feel as like a concrete block on the water, and that is not far off. The heavy layup and straightforward engineering mean these boats age slowly, shrugging off decades of use. Used DeFevers from the 1980s and the 1990s routinely list between $50,000 and $150,000, and many are still in service after 30 or 40 years. Maintenance is straightforward, parts are accessible, and the boat's reputation for reliability keeps resale values steady. For buyers, Fleming and DeFever represent two paths, one built on boutique scarcity and resale strength, the other on workboat toughness and long-term value. Both offer a kind of durability that is hard to find in today's market. Inspection on a classic trawler starts with the hull. Surveyors use a moisture meter and sometimes even ultrasound to check for hidden water intrusion or thinning fiberglass, especially around the keel and through hulls. Next, deck integrity gets tested for soft spots, which can signal rot in old balsa or foam cores. Seacocks and through hulls should be solid bronze, not plastic. Any sign of pitting or a seized valve is a warning. Fuel and water tanks, often buried deep under the floorboards, are best checked with a camera probe for rust or leaks. Systems like steering, bilge pumps and wiring all get a close look, but it is the structure and tanks that can turn a dreamboat into a money pit if missed. A careful top-down survey helps spot trouble before it becomes expensive. A classic trawler's low purchase price is only part of the story. Owners should plan for a refit budget between $20,000 and $45,000 to cover the work that keeps these boats going strong. A full teak deck replacement can run $15,000 to $30,000, while repowering with a new diesel engine often costs $12,000 to $18,000. These are not surprise expenses. They are the expected price of preserving a vessel built to last. The golden rule is simple: maintenance matters more than the year stamped on the hull. A well-documented service record is worth more than a shiny paint job. Before signing anything, hire a surveyor with experience in classic trawlers. The right expert can spot the difference between a solid investment and a money pit, and that makes all the difference in the long run. Today, you'll still find 40-year-old trawlers outlasting boats half their age, proof that real craftsmanship cannot be faked or replaced. In a world built for obsolescence, these classics show that buying quality is not nostalgia, it is smart. Some things, like a solid hull, are not meant to be disposable.